Shouldn't I ignore every single tantrum? Isn't that going to help extinguish, the tantrums and show the child they can't manipulate me and I'm not going to give in to the tantrum? This is what a lot of parent coaches are saying online to parents of 1 to 6 year olds. And I have a very different take based on neuroscience, child brain and body development research, and my own experience of almost 10 years as a pediatric speech therapist and parent coach here in New York City. Hi, my name is Laura. I have worked with hundreds of 1 to 6 year olds on tantrums, frustrations, big behaviors, communication, coping skills, regulation skills. And here in this episode, you're going to learn exactly what to do instead of ignoring, because ignoring isn't actually teaching anything. And I'm going to show you exactly why and what to do instead. This is Tantrums to Talking. So, should we ignore every single tantrum? It really depends on your goal as a parent. Some parents, they're just focusing on the short term. I want this tantrum to end. Tantrums are overwhelming, overstimulating every single day, and I just want it to end. And ignoring the tantrum can end tantrums. It's true. There's no question about it. But if our goal is more long term, I want my child to feel calm during hard moments, to be able to cope with hard moments. Like I see other kids their age cope with hard moments. I want my child to be able to regulate themselves so that things can be more productive. I want my child to communicate with me, communicate their wants and needs. And I want my child to be able to handle no and frustration and when an activity ends without melting down and falling to the floor and screaming and crying every single time. I want to be able to consistently go to outings and public places like restaurants and movie theaters or family get-togethers or birthday parties without my child's, tantruming or me being stressed about the tantrum that I know is coming. We're really looking for your child to build a skill called regulation, or being able to regulate their nervous system or the inside of their body even during hard moments. And to build that regulation skill, we cannot rely on ignoring. Because think about it, ignoring a tantrum, it isn't actually building any skills, right? It's like a short term, it's like a band aid fix for something that's actually a lot bigger. It's not really addressing the root of the problem. Ignoring isn't teaching anything, it's not building any skills, it's not working towards anything. It's simply, a lot of parent coaches, they frame it this way, it's training, and I'm putting this in air quotes, it's training your child out of tantrums. But this is the difference here. There's a difference between training and child development. Those are two very different approaches. And I go down the child development approach, the long term or building regulation skills approach. And this is how we do it: build regulation skills, or feeling calm inside of their body, being able to calm the inside of their body down, even when something doesn't go their way or they hear no or you leave the park, whatever it is. We build that regulation skill through something called co-regulation. And this is based off of a study with almost 2,000 toddlers, a study by PubMed, and it was published in 2022. And the findings from this study with almost 2,000 toddlers that followed them from, I believe it was 14 months all the way through fifth grade. So we're looking at the long-term skill development. It found that toddlers are not born knowing how to regulate their emotions. They learn through, and this is what the study found, their body, their brain, and their caregivers, the people they trust, the adults they trust in their lives. When they're overwhelmed, toddlers do not use logic. They don't calm down with words. They move, cry, reach for you because their brains are still developing. And they found that these toddlers learned regulation skills by co-regulation, which means they were being supported by their trusted adults and oftentimes their parents. So they're being supported, guided, and this repeated exposure and experience of getting back to calm using your nervous system, your calm presence, and additional co-regulation techniques was how they built regulation skills, or these calm down skills that we want to see in our little ones, not by being ignored. Ignoring actually cuts them off from co-regulation because it's actually like taking away your presence, your calm, your touch, your movement, all of those things. It's cutting them off from it. And so their nervous system, their brain and body system is on their own. And we know from this study and many other child development studies, toddlers, little ones, little kids ages 1 to 6 are not born with a skill. They develop it through us, through the adult. So that is why I do not ignore every single tantrum. I want you to think of it this way. Think about when like an infant, right? An infant's crying or they're really upset, they're screaming. We know, and like just inherently, we need to pick that baby up, rock them, move around, use our voice, use a sing-song voice, cradle them, have them close until they calm down. That doesn't just suddenly end in toddlerhood or even early childhood, ages 1 to 6. There's still parts of that. They still need that co-regulation. We need it throughout our lives because we're mammals. We're not reptiles. We can't just regulate by ourselves. We need another human being with us to regulate. Think about like when you're even as adults, when we're upset, right? When we're frustrated, angry, crying, whatever it is. What do we do in those situations when a loved one is crying or upset? We hug them. It's like an automatic response. We bring them close. We help calm them down. We might rub their back or we sit close to them with our hand on their leg. And, we use our voice, our tone, our presence to calm them down. We do this automatically. And there are really specific ways we can do this with our 1 to 6-year-old to teach them regulation skills so that their brain and body know how to quickly get back to calm and build a new path. Can't expect them to handle it alone. Now, here's an important nuance. It's not that I never ignore tantrums, it's that I use it like a little pinch of salt rather than dumping in the whole jar. So, for example, if it's a clear boundary pushing tantrum, like if the 1 to 6-year-old, and this is usually with like older kids, like 3, 4, 5, 6, if they're doing something and they know they're not supposed to be doing it and they do it and they look at you, or they start tantruming and they look at you, they tantrum and they look at you, and they clearly want something, they're clearly trying to get something out of it. And again, it's their body language, their expression too. There's that look where they pause, look for your reaction. That's a clear boundary pushing tantrum. It's okay to turn our head away in those situations and be like, I'm not engaging, I'm not entertaining this behavior, right? But we're using it like a little pinch of salt. We're not dumping the whole jar. We're not ignoring every single tantrum ages 1 to 6. I had this family come to me when the child was about 2 years old. They were dealing with intense frequent tantrums, long, big tantrums. The parents felt like helpless. They're like, we don't know what to do. They came to me for some parent coaching, and I started to explain this whole co regulation, child development concept. And they were really against it. And that's okay. You know what? At the end of the day, parents are the ones in the driver's seat, and you get to decide. You get to decide what approach you take, what road you go down with your child. So after a couple of sessions, the parents decided, we've heard from many parent coaches online, we should ignore every single tantrum. Otherwise, we're giving into and reinforcing the tantrum. So that's what we want to do. And I said, okay, that's fine. This isn't the right fit, and that's okay. um, like a year and a half later, they contact me again and tell me that they've tried ignoring every single tantrum with this 2-year-old boy. And honestly, it made the tantrums worse. He was not able to build regulation skills. Co-regulation was not happening during hard moments. So the screaming became more intense. The behaviors became more intense. When they first came to me, it was more like he was falling onto the floor, he was crying, he was screaming. Then it escalated as he became 3, 3.5 to hitting, kicking, so much frustration. He didn't know where to put these feelings. And so they just exploded into other bigger behaviors and had that snowball effect. It just got worse and worse. So I'm not saying this happens with every single child. Of course, every single child and family is different. But without that co regulation piece, it's like we're missing so many important opportunities that could be such helpful learning experiences to a 1 to 6-year-old to build their lifelong regulation skills. So I've started working with this family again, and they're like, we know we need a different approach. We know this didn't work. And we messed up here. We want to start over with you. And I said, that's okay. You know, it's never too late. It is easier. The younger the child, the easier it is. And usually the less behaviors and just the more malleable the brain and body system, but it's okay. You know, we kind of had to start from scratch and build those regulation skills and that co-regulation technique from the bottom up. Things are starting to click with him. Like, he sees his parents using a different approach. He's responding in a totally different way. The kicking and the screaming is going down because he's connecting with them emotionally and using their calm to calm himself down. Again, this is how we work as mammals, as human beings. So, if you're having these daily tantrum, meltdown behavior struggles with your 1 to 6 year old, this is exactly what I teach in my Tantrums to Talking program. It's a parent coaching model. It's for 3 months. It's one to one, you and me, and we are going back to basics. And there's a ton of hand holding, and I'm showing you exactly what to do for your specific situation in your specific family, how to use those co-regulation techniques based on brain and body science in child development for a long-term fix, not just a short-term band-aid. So that link is in the show notes below. If you're interested, you can apply or book a call with me to see if we're a good fit. That's complimentary. And if you are interested in how do I use these co-regulation techniques, IRL in real life, comment below because that will help me figure out what video topics are helpful for you. Comment any other video topic ideas. I'm happy to share on here. And yeah, I'm happy to share, my general advice, insights on here based on child development research and my experience. But for that one-to-one tailored approach, customized approach for your specific child, their behaviors, what you're seeing, what your family system's looking like, your routines, the techniques to implement every single day. For that individualized approach, you're going to want to apply to my Tantrums to Talking program. All right, so I'll see you in the next video.